A very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening to our audience present here. My name is Mehek Gupta, and I will be taking you through the Design Hub Showcase. The Design Hub is a team of designers located in the Ni3 India Center. We are responsible for all the visual design aspects of the Ni3 Center. A little bit about me. As I said, my name is Mehek. I live in Mumbai, in India. I have graduated as a communication designer, but I also like to call myself a social designer. I am a writer and a researcher as well. My journey with Ni3 started in October 2018 as a media specialist for the media gathering team. And now, 3 years down the line, I work as a junior research assistant with the Ni3 India team. I am one member of the Design Hub clan, which is led by Sunena Wagmare, who has a keen eye to detail. Nothing goes amiss when it comes to design details in front of her eyes. Our member Ishani Kulkarni brings the perfect balance of critique and creativity to all our design and visual needs. Whilst Karmishta Krishna always surprises us with a breath of fresh air and metaphorical messaging in all her designs. And we all four together represent the Design Hub. In this presentation, I'm going to take you through the synergy between design and research as part of the Ni3 Global Research Center. I will showcase work that ranges from branding and visual language to video to spoken word, that is poetry performance, then graphic design and humanizing of data, involving data visualization. To start with, let me take you through one of the most prized projects of the Design Hub since it ever began in 2018 officially. This is the Ni3 rebrand, which was majorly worked on by Ishani and Sunena. The project started after the Global Summit in 2018 and was meant to create another identity, as in a refurbished identity of the old logo, and give a new identity system to Ni3, a new face to recognize. While the old logo represents the work of the center through its transnational nature, it lacked or had some drawbacks when it came to design function. For example, when minimized, you couldn't read what was written. The motive of the new logo was to create familiarity, versatility, at the same time represent a global transnational team, represent the work of the center to prevent gender-based violence, while creating a universal appeal. The name Ni3 stems from the global statistic that 1 in 3 women face physical or sexual abuse in their lifetime. And the aim of the center is to make this statistic Ni3. The new logo has a silhouette of a face in the aspect ratio of 1:3, which is synonymous with our statistic. And at the same time, the silhouette of the face represents the human nature of our work, which is creating direct impact on people. The circle is also a nod to the transnational research nature of our project, and it subtly resembles a globe. We were not to go very far away from our previous identity because when we rebranded, we were already halfway through the Ni3 project. So you can see a great deal of resonance between the old and the new logo. The words Ni3 fall outside of the circle, giving them more emphasis. Whilst the emphasis is laid on none, it is directly synonymous with the impact that we're trying to create, that is making the statistic 1 in 3, Ni3. The secondary logo involves the strapline, which reads, Research to Prevent Gender-Based Violence. Both the logos will be used as per use case scenario. And I'm 100% sure a lot of you who have interacted with our work and are part of the work have seen this new identity system on our website, social media, and a lot of the stationery you may be dealing with in your offices. This was a great project and a great new visual system that Ishani and Sunana brought to the Ni3 identity. Our second branding and visual language project deals with the development of the visual language for Play Talk Change, which again is one of our most favored projects. Play Talk Change was a youth-led global gathering of early career researchers, game designers, and changemakers who came together to prevent gender-based violence. The conference happened on 24th and 25th of June over a YouTube live stream. Our responsibility in October 2020 was to create the branding from scratch for this event, which was going to happen 10 months down the line. We began with looking at references of different projects that have occurred in similar nature, and we chose to look at 3 to 4 different visual routes we could take to represent Play Talk Change, which at the time was just the words that we had to play with. We then did some surveys with our demographic target audience. We wrote down some touch points that we could use and some important keywords that would come in use while designing the branding. There were a lot of iterations we played with, a lot of color that you can see. But to really narrow the logo down, we had to rely on 4 guiding themes. 1, games, especially video games. Since Ni3's interactive and innovative solution is serious gaming, we needed the game aspect to shine through. We needed the logo to be relatable and interactive, while also being bright and bringing in the youth energy that was coming through the organization and the hosting of the conference. Ultimately, this entire conference was hosted, created, and organized by the young people of the Ni3 Center. So this is what our final logo looked like. It typographically expresses the 3 elements of our conference. The transition from a pixel font commonly associated with arcade video games to a strong settled serif font, that is synonymous with impact today. The color and interaction adds engagement and emphasizes the 3 different moods within the conference. Play, that is gaming, talk, which brings in research, and change, which ultimately results to change making and impact. We obviously created a brand guideline document to define how this branding will play through the entire process and the journey towards the conference. Whilst we started with the more obvious elements of color and typography, we didn't limit ourselves to just that. We also defined how the copywriting or the content writing should be curated and the tone of the entire brand and how one should engage with it. And this ultimately led to a family of collaterals and creatives that when you look at tells you, yes, this is Play Talk Change. I'm sure you've seen some or all of these creatives on your social media channels, on the website, and any other touch point with Ni3 and Play Talk Change that you may have been part of. And we are really proud of this work. Additionally, as part of a marketing collateral for Play Talk Change, we wrote the script we did the production and post-production in-house for a video that was used to garner more registrations for the conference. We call this video the PTC Women video, and I must say that it has reached above 500 views on Instagram and has got us a great deal of registrations and made some noise out there. This was done in collaboration with Jamaica, Roxanne Harvey from Jamaica, Sharon Adong from Uganda, and Ishani Kulkarni and myself from India.
Global statistics show that 1 in 3 women face physical or sexual abuse in their lifetime.
Our research confirms that enablers of such violence include gender-based patriarchal norms, and child marriage.
And that children and young people are too often victims of gender based violence, such as physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, along with coercion and control.
The harsh reality is people do go through this every day, but they shouldn't have to.
So, what can we do about it?
We can empower.
We can educate.
We can make a difference as each life matters.
Our collective aim is to make this statistic Ni3. The young people of Ni3 have come together to create a virtual conference called Play Talk Change. Play Talk Change is a youth-led global gathering of members from the fields of research, art and design, gaming, and social workers.
Play Talk Change is showcasing Ni3's innovative solution, research-driven, pro-social computer games to build a world free of gender-based violence.
You will find podcasts, webinars, panel discussions, short films, and keynote sessions dedicated to making positive change in India, Uganda, Jamaica, and the UK.
So, if you are one of those people who wants to educate themselves and make a difference, register for our free conference using the link in our bio.
Come join us and please share with your friends, parents, teachers, and peers. Let's play, talk, and change.
Be the voice of change.
The next showcase is of a spoken word performance by Karmishka Krishna, who has very poetically and metaphorically written down her experience of being a girl, of growing up as a girl rather. The piece is called Swimming Through and is available on Ni3's YouTube channel.
When I was 9, my mama always told me to stay away from the deep blue waters, to swim shallow enough so that she could watch me. She told me that I could appreciate the turquoise ripples, but from an arm's distance only, for sharks roamed wildly and fiercely, inhabiting the oceans and gnarled corals, establishing their rugged rule by simply sensing prey and conquering flesh, like it was always theirs. She told me that I was too little to understand how extensive the ocean was, too little to understand why she kept me away from it. When I was 15, my mama began to tell me to beware of what lay under the azure skies, to explore the world below, but with my cautioned senses only. She told me that I could appreciate people I admired, but from an arm's distance only, for perpetrators roam wildly and fiercely, inhabiting public spaces and gnarled dingy lanes, establishing their evil rule by simply catcalling prey and conquering skin, like it was always theirs. She told me that I was big enough to understand how unsafe the world was, but too free-spirited to understand her fear of letting me go. I am 19 now. I sat my mother down, held her hands in mine, and quietly whispered to her that the blue skies and the blue oceans were both beautiful, both extraordinary, that it was unfair to let sharks and perpetrators conquer bodies that didn't belong to them. I whispered to her that if the world is an oyster and the ocean is its home, it is the pearls that shine through them all.
That was a beautiful piece by Karmishka. The next showcase is of content creation in the sense of graphic design, especially image and illustration. This particular piece is created by Ishani and it peels down to understand the real reason for inaction when it comes to gender based violence and gender bias, which is stereotyping and gender roles. She has used the metaphor of a Russian doll to represent this. And might I say, a really good metaphor for this particular example. And the last bit, which is one of the most interesting bits is humanizing data. When it comes to work like ours, it involves a lot of quantitative and qualitative data that deals with sensitive matters of people's lives, their stories, and a lot of other things that come with it. The table that you see on your right is the attribution data of 42 respondents who were part of the in-depth interview process of the Nun3 India research process. The data includes the gender, the name, the age, the highest level of education, whether the respondent is married, not married, the religion, the language, and quite a few of these attributes. The key here, or rather the question for us, was how can we make this table much more than just a page flip away? We just didn't want people to look at the table and turn the page. We needed it to mean something. We wanted to authentically represent the information. We wanted it to tell a story and humanize the lived experiences of the women whose data is being listed here. So Ishani turned this into this. Now I'm sure you're wondering, what is this? These are miniature icons of 42 women, but how do I read this data? Here is the legend or a key for you to decode this data. Each element of an icon represents something important. The most obvious ones, like right of education and level of education and religion, and the age of marriage, are one of the most important ones to understand the respondent's journey going forth. You can see whether the woman is working and earning, whether she has children and how many children and of what gender. Is she married? By earrings and by the kind of earrings she's wearing, you can tell if she's married or not. Her name and age is written. Her income level is decided by the positioning of her face. And one of the most important elements is the verification tick that you see. Now, while some of us can relate this verified tick to social media channels, it is also very smartly placed here as a metaphor to how we want to validate each experience as a unique one, as something that needs to be spoken about, a story that needs to be told, and is representative of other women like the ones that we've showcased in here. You will find this data visualization piece in our report, which is placed on our website. And you will find a lot of other visualizations for you to understand and decode some of the extensive research done by the Nun3 India team. To close, I would like to share some learnings and a way forward for us as the Design Hub. Firstly, something to note for us very strongly is that visual language has no boundary. Whether rich or poor, literate or not, it impacts and is understood by everyone. Extensive collaboration with researchers lets a designer reach people much better as the work together fills in contextual gaps. And lastly, designing for a social cause requires skill sets, of course, to best represent something, but it also requires sensitivity and good strategy. And moving on from here, though writing or research, design or poetry, our endeavor to make this world a gender just one continues forever. And on that note, taking a bow on behalf of the entire Design Hub team, I thank you for listening to me.